Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to see if we can solve the problem of the fishing reel in the parts container that a buddy of mine bought. And this one is a well-deserved, highly touted Daiwa SS200. This came between the Silver Series and the Black Gold Series. It's a beautiful reel, but unfortunately this one found its way to a parts bin because it didn't have a handle, and the sluggish performance of the reel says something just isn't working right here. So what we decided to do is I'm going to take this reel apart, see if I can service it. I did find a handle off of a different Daiwa reel with a couple of shims will work, and I did find a replacement side button for over here. So I think we're going to be able to get this one fishing again, and that's the project of the day. So I'm going to start by taking off the exterior pieces. That involves removing the spool and the side plate and the rotor, and the rotor's loose. I noticed that there's a tremendous wobble in there, and that's just a matter of tightening down a rotor nut. So let's see what this holds for us, see if we can give this reel a second chance. I like these reels a lot. There's no reason why sluggish performance, which is usually attributable to dried grease and the like, can't be remedied but simply by taking the grease and redoing it. So here's an indication of just why this reel is kind of heads and shoulders above some of the others. You have a water seal here. For a reel of this age, that's very unusual. Most of the time these top drag reels will get water intrusion here. It'll seep right down. It has nowhere to go, and it kind of seeps into the rotor. In this case, this is a skirted spool one, so the line rolling to the outside will allow the water to go down, but the inside needs to be protected so it doesn't get inside the rotor cup. All right, well, we've removed that. We can take the spool off at this point. I'm just going to put that over on the side. My other pieces I put into a parts tray. It's nothing more than the bottom of a fast food container. That served me well over time. Well, you can see that the rotor is just shaking here. That's because this nut underneath here is loose. That'll all get tightened up. To get the case open then, we're going to just remove the side plate screws. These are stainless. They're a nice indication of the quality of the reel. And I expect what I'm going to see inside is just really horrible dried grease, because that's kind of the feel that this reel has as I go to kind of crank it away. If you enjoy the hobby of reel repair, or if you're working on a reel or the like and you're just kind of here searching this out, I'd ask you to subscribe to my channel. That'll help you to learn a little bit more about fishing reels, see how they come apart, see how you repair them, see how you put them back together again, and eventually it's skill transference. This is a do-it-yourself channel where I try to teach you to do it, and nothing would make me happier than have you servicing your own reels. All right, we're going to just remove the side plate now with those three covers off. Yep, there it is. This is about as greasy and gooped up as it can possibly get. And the next thing I want to do then is I want to pull down the axle shaft so I have access to the screw that holds the axle. That's embedded into a crosswind block. And this is a good place to tell you, take pictures along the way. If you don't know the reel, then pictures are the best thing to help you, because if you make a mistake on the reassembly, you can always go back to the pictures you took and reference them. Well, that's dried grease. There's no question about it. As I pulled that out of the reel, it was very sluggish, and I'm going to just use some fine steel wool. It's 4-0 steel wool. It's actually a polishing steel wool as opposed to an aggressive one. And we're just going to clean that shaft right up, get that old dried grease off of there, and I'm sure that the performance will just kind of improve right away with that one not dragging. And then we can see the internal workings of this. We have a big main gear here, which we should be able to remove now, bearing out. Main gear out, and yeah, just look at that. It's all just, it's almost as if somebody took tar or something and was just doing that. You can see another reason why these reels are so well made. You have a 3-ball bearing reel, and those bearings seem to be okay. I didn't notice with what I was doing if there was any issue with the poor performance of the bearings. It was just that those bearings become embedded with the dried grease. So this is a good kind of suggestion. If you're at a market somewhere, maybe it's a garage sale, maybe it's a flea market or yard sales or whatever, you go by different names in different places, tag sales, and you find a reel that you like and it's just operating very sluggish, don't walk away from it assuming something's broken. A lot of the time it's just the need to have it cleaned and get it back going again. Alright, so I just used the penetrating oil to clean those two bearings up. One side shielded, the other is showing the bearing. I'm just going to go ahead on the side that's not shielded. Just flood it with oil. That should restore the performance of those bearings. We have a pretty ugly gear in that it's all just holding that dried grease. We're going to try and see if it's, yeah, this has got to be, you can just see it's chunking out. So there's no easy way to do this. Just take a flat blade of a screwdriver, use it as a scraper, and just chunk it off. This is what's been causing the performance issues without a doubt. You can see it's on the post here from the way they're stored. It's on the back here where the extra will fall off. And I put a paper towel under there because I don't want this junk all over my desk when I'm done. I would rather just have that stuff fall to the paper towel, and then we can throw that paper towel away and not have to worry that this is going to transfer over into the next reel that I'm working on. Alright, well, I got most of that out successfully. Just a little bit left. And my guess is this reel has been sitting for probably at least 10 years to see the grease like this dry up. Fold that paper towel out so that that debris doesn't get onto your bench. Go get another one. Now what we're going to do to clean this one forward is we're going to just spray this down with some penetrating oil. There seems to be some old stuff still in here, so let's get that out. Turn that over because there's a little bit on the face here. I'm going to spray this with a penetrating oil now to help loosen up the finer pieces of it. Spray both sides, and then I'm just going to set this off for a moment as we go to work on some of those other parts. This is your crosswind block or gear. Let's just see what's going on in here. That's clean. There wasn't anything that transferred there. Alright, the only piece that might have any more going on there is the crosswind block, and this one's clean too. So we're just going to set those off to the side, and actually a good practice, as I mentioned before, put them in your parts tray. It's real easy to get involved in something, have it trip up out of the way, and then you're kind of stuck. Well, we're going to remove the rotor next. That's easy enough to do because, as we mentioned, this nut was loose. So if you had line on that spool, that line would have come in a figure 8 kind of a pattern, because as the line would rock back and forth, it would have nowhere to go. All right, underneath here is a setup that's also got some dried grease on it, so I think the first thing I'm going to do here is just kind of spray it down with a penetrating oil again. We use the scraper, repeat. This is like gym tan laundry, right? Just repeat. That stuff is still liquid, that's good. And we're going to do a couple of things. This has got a pinch dog for an anti-reverse. I'm going to remove that. I really want to get down to that bearing in the main case here because that's the one that needs to be serviced. That's the only other piece that would have an issue, and the good news is the first two bearings that we saw did not have an issue. Remove the tie down. Here's your anti-reverse dog. Here's your ratchet. Make sure that you know that that's the upside of the ratchet. And flip this out of the way so I can get access to the collar that's going to hold the bearing in place. And I'm noticing there's a little click mechanism here for your spool and anti-reverse. So I'm just going to be careful here to see if we can't get that collar out around that, or if we have to remove that whole kind of assembly to do that. I'm letting the screws fall to the towel below because I want to make sure that all of those screws are the same size. Can also remove the collar at this point. That'll give me a little bit more room. That sits on the, well, opens all tight. That sits on the shaft of the pinion gear. Well, with any luck, we'll be able to get this assembly out. All right, so those 3 screws are the same. I'm going to take those and put them into my parts tray. Keep those together. I'm going to take the anti-reverse screw and the anti-reverse dog, put those into my tray. Same thing with the collars facing now that all of that is up. Got a little bit of dirt and grease on there. Before I pull that main assembly out, let's go ahead and do that. And now this collar, I want to see if I can't clear this little, there's a little dog kind of thing here, spring clicker. I want to see if I can't clear that. Find a way to hold that back as I go to remove the piece. There we go. So I pulled that out, and yep, Chris, you're right. My luck continues. I was able to get the burring and the set aside out on top of that. I'm going to use a cotton swab to clean the inside of that, as well as the remnants of that little grease that was dried up there. Then I'm being careful here not to disturb that little arm there. Come down underneath. This case is very clean. It's as if all of the grease that just dried to that main gear. Didn't spread its way out. That's a washer that the crosswind gear is going to ride on. Clean that up. Pull the bearing. You're going to see the same thing here. One side's a shield. Well, actually, on this one, both sides are a shield. I'm going to flood that bearing, set that off to the side. And now I'm going to grab a hard bristle brush to clean out the tracks of the pinion gear. I have no doubt this thing is going to fly once these new lubrication is put into it. This is going to be a beautiful reel. Well worth it. So I previewed earlier a fellow friend of mine that's sells at flea markets. He paid $30, I think, for a box of parts reels, and this was in it. And we kind of agreed that if I fix the reels for him, I can have the balance of the reels. I think this one pays for the box that he bought, and then some. This is a desirable reel, and I'm sure if you go onto any of those online selling sites like eBay and the like, that you're going to find these listed well beyond the $30 that this one cost. All right, well greased. Grease onto the piece that's going to be seated into the reel. Put that bearing back on there. And then we're going to try and just kind of hike this one through here. And what we have to do now is we got to slide this over. And I need to slip that under that little edge there. Once you've positioned that collar, go ahead and get your 3 screws out of the tray. Get them started. And these are stainless screws, so again, another indication that the reel is well made. So if you have a question on a fishing reel or repair, if you leave that in the comments section, I'll be happy to try and answer that question for you. I know sometimes folks will get stuck. Sometimes maybe they didn't take a picture along the way. Maybe they trusted their mind to remember how a piece or a part went during the reinstallation and kind of got stuck. It's happened to me. That's why these suggestions come. Okay, I've just finished tightening the last of the screws. I've cleaned off my desk. I'm going to put another paper towel down just in case. But we're on to the reinstall portion of this program now, which is nice. A lot of dirt in here, so let's just use the cleaner. I'm going to use penetrating oil on both sides. Also, while I have that penetrating oil out, I'm going to hit the locations for that bail trip. Just kind of use a cotton swab to clean up the dirt that's on the inside of this. So we know this reel's been sitting for a long time because that grease won't harden like that if you were using it on a daily basis. And that's okay. Somebody's going to get a good bargain out of this one. All right, take the rotor assembly now. We'll load that over the top. Oops. And a couple more things to put in before that. The spacing just told me that. The click mechanism goes back in here. That lines up. Next up then is the anti-reverse piece. Remember what the top side is. Set your dog by spreading those forks. That's your dog set up. Once you get the screw started, just go ahead and tighten it down. And this has got a shoulder on it, so make sure that the shoulder doesn't just compress against that dog, but it seats itself inside the dog. Like that, you'll see that it needs to go all the way down there. Okay, give it a test once you've installed it. Make sure that it pulls back in, and that's exactly how it should be working. So now we can go ahead and grab the rotor, set that on board, take our rotor nut. That should be a straightforward clockwise tightening. Now this has a light rim to it, so we may be able to just connect right over that. We can. And at this point, it's a good idea to give it a spin, and boy, does that spin nicely now, right? So we know that that's not the issue as far as the side goes. I'm going to take the bearings now. We're going to install the bearing into the back case. Get that crosswind gear. That would be next up. So we want to take our brush, get a good dose of the grease all over this one. You want it up front, back, and sides. That's because every piece is going to touch. That really is an integral part of this reel and the reel design. You can also take the moment to do the same thing here with the crosswind block. Get a good amount of grease into that. And then set that in under the bar and on top of the stud. Now we can put the main gear in. We've cleaned that up. That cleaned up nicely. So let's go ahead and get the grease onto the face of this. Into the teeth. There's something on my brush here for some reason. And because it's been dry for a while, make sure you get a good dose on it. Do the same thing, get it onto where it's going to travel on the inside of the bearings. And I just noticed we have a little bit of hard grease just kind of still packed on there, so I want to get that off before it finds its way inside the reel and interferes with the performance. There you go. Alright, all cleaned up on that side. We can go reinstall then. You have to put the main gear back on before you can put the axle shaft in. Now the axle shaft, we've already cleaned that because we were using that steel wall earlier. So let's go ahead and put that in. And the flat side here is what's going to go face to you in the crosswind block. So go ahead and mate that up. And make sure that you get the hole centered into the crosswind block there. And come back to your case. Get that screw that belongs in there. And tighten that one down. Alright, get that started, bring that in. Those of you that watch this know I struggle from time to time with those things. All right, that should work well. I'm going to throw that to the off position for a moment. Take that other bearing that we've oiled already, put that over the shaft. Let's close this case up then. Let's get one of them centered. I don't like to tighten the first one down all the way. I just like to get it to hold position because the case does float a little bit. And you do want to make sure that the holes are available there to get the others started. And we'll get this third one started, and then we'll come up top here, look at that spool, because that'll be the only piece that won't be serviced. And that will be the telltale sign whether we're going to be able to get this thing back performing the way it should. I have no doubt that what we've done so far will enhance the performance. The question is whether we'll bring it all the way back. Okay, clean up a little bit of the dirt on that case. Let's go to the spool then. This has a little spring clip, pentagon clip, so just hold one side of it because they will spring just like it did there. That's a little jumper. And we should be able to just take a pick to pull these out. I'm not sure what we're going to find in here from a drag washer standpoint. Looks like it's going to be a combination of a hard washer and some felt. While I have this open, I'm going to clean the inside rim here using the kitchen scrubby. Might as well clean the whole spool while we're at it. Just high quality materials in this reel throughout. You saw the nice quality of the main gear. And we'll just clean up the rest of this. Alright, so the bottom one was the red Teflon washer. This drag stack is pretty well seized together as everything else was. And you should be able to just kind of work these apart. And if I'm off camera, I'll apologize for that. You may need a little razor knife. If you do, please be careful. It is a razor. But just use it as a wedge to kind of work its way through. We had that hard washer that went in first. Hard dark washer went. Then the first of the metal washers. Then a Teflon washer. Then the eared washer. That's the one with the points that sits in the slots in the channel here. So even though these washers are not big, these washers are plentiful. So you make up for max drag is a function of area. So instead of having 2 washers or 3 washers, they have 4 washers, and that will increase the max drag on this reel. All right, that's all set. Go back on here now. Load the spool on. Load the adjuster on. Then the only thing left is to see if this makeshift handle is going to work the way I plan it to work. So this handle, I believe, came off of a Daiwa SS200, which would be the predecessor. I know that it fits the main gear, but this part was rubbing on the housing, which seems to be just a little bit wider than the other one. So what I've done is I added a couple of shim washers to this side, just to push it out enough to clear that housing. Oh, missed one. One just fell off there. This was going on before we ever started working on the reel. I was concerned that I need the clearance here, so that did that. And then I found a screw to work for this side. The head wasn't big enough, so I found a little washer that goes underneath it. I'll get that on next. And then I found a button from another Daiwa reel that'll fit in the threaded case there. If you didn't find the button, I guess you could operate the reel without the button. That's purely cosmetic at this point. And that was the moment of truth. Did it work, or did we just spend too much time not doing anything? I think we found the answer there, didn't we? So this has two pieces. It's much like the pen Spinfisher series. You can have a non-functioning, you can have a functioning anti-reverse, and you can have the click. Remember that little piece we were working over there? Or you can take the click off. Kind of interesting reel. Wow, what a difference. The only noise is coming from the handle that didn't come with this reel. Let's go ahead and put that on. There you have it. Wow, what a beautiful reel. I knew that was going to work. I don't know why. It just got told me that you can't kill these reels. I'll just give it a bail shot there. This has got the bang bail. It's going to bang against there to close it. Totally enjoyable. What a gorgeous little reel. The Daiwa 2000 SS or SS200, made in Japan, predecessor to the black and gold, successor to the Silver Series reels, and just a joy to work on. You saw everything inside of it. Just need to clean up a little bit on this handle here. I think I'm just going to soak that in penetrating oil for a little while. I'll come back, I'll clean the case up. But as far as how to take it apart and save this reel, well, that was what the intentions of this video were. I hope you've enjoyed it. To everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.